Do you love your job? Are you passionate about your work? Maybe it's perfectly alright not to be? We'll find out today. Welcome to the Soft Skill channel. My name is Sebastian Jung and today I would like to talk about the attitude we have towards our work. Because a lot of people are unhappy about their work, as we know from statistics. And here, a German author Volker Kietz has an interesting theory that is discussed in his book Feierabend, which is unfortunately not available in English. This is the reason this video is not a book review, even though the last one before the channel update usually is. But even though the book is not available to you, I still would like to discuss some of Volker Kietz's ideas with you, because he has an interesting theory. What makes us unhappy is not the work itself, but it is the exaggerated idea we have about work, the lies and delusions we tell each other about work. In his book, Volker Kietz describes the grand delusions of our working life, and I would like to tell you about them. The first one is passion. This is quite a popular one. You are supposed to do something that you really love and that you are passionate about. An example frequently given by motivational speakers is the case of a heart surgeon who realized at the age of 65, I think, that his true passion, his true dream is to be a truck driver. And he stopped being a surgeon and he became a truck driver. Now, Volker Kietz points out that the situation would have been somewhat different if it would have been the other way around. If a truck driver at the age of 65 would have realized his true passion is being a heart surgeon, he wouldn't have been able to realize this dream. The same goes, let's say, if he would have realized at age 65 that his dream is to be a professional soccer player or football or whatever is popular in your country. So it is not always possible to realize our passion and to do our dream job. And furthermore, some people don't even have a dream job because their passion lies not in work, but in some other area of their lives, maybe in their family or in their hobbies or in voluntary work. And finally, being passionate about something doesn't automatically mean that you are good at it. A lot of people are passionate about their work, but still are not able to do it well. Being passionate and doing good work is not the same thing. Next, we have challenge. At least here in Germany, every job advertisement talks about the great challenges that await you in your new position. However, the reality is actually quite different because pretty much every job consists mainly of routine. Volker Kietz says there are two kinds of jobs. There are the ones that are boring and the ones that get boring. Because even if you do something quite exciting, such as piloting a plane, it will become routine after you've done it for a couple of years, after you've done it a couple hundred times. And this isn't bad. Imagine you're in a plane and the pilot tells you, oh, this is a great challenge for me. Now this wouldn't be comforting, would it? We are quite happy about all the professionals who have developed a steady routine that enables them to do their jobs really well. Then we have the freedom to do your work as you desire, as you imagine. Now, this is a great idea, but again, reality can't really live up to it, because usually you are part of some kind of organization, and organizations are based on unified processes, on standards, on all people doing things in the same way. There is no room for each person who is part of the organization to do things as they please. They have to do things as the standard requires. Then we have meaning. Volker Kies says that every work has meaning. I need to add a little question mark here, because at a later point we will probably talk about a book by one David Graeber that discusses what he calls bullshit jobs. But for now we will go with the idea that every job has meaning. Now, this isn't quite enough for us. We desire greater meaning, such as building a school in some poor, war-torn country where there is a lot of misery. However, Volker Kies points out that it is also this is, of course, great, but Volker Kies points out that it is also quite meaningful to teach reading and writing in the local school in your neighborhood. There are basic professions, such as being a baker. I mean, if you are a baker, you produce food. Eating is one of our most basic needs, so this is an extremely meaningful job. However, if we have some exaggerated idea of meaning, we devalue such basic and meaningful jobs. And furthermore, such a job doesn't lose its meaning because it is being paid. Even greater than meaning is self-fulfillment. This is where we basically expect our work to give meaning to our lives. However, is this really desirable? If ourselves and our work become one, who am I after my work is over? Who am I after I have retired? Who am I if I lose my work? There are a lot of people who have severe psychological problems because they have lost their work, and with it their life has lost a lot of meaning. Work is not for the one doing it, but for the one it is done for. A shop is not there to fulfill the desires and needs of the salespeople. It is there to fulfill the needs and desires of the customers. Of course, employers like this idea of self-fulfillment through your work because it puts them in a good position. It adds value to the work they offer, and it might help to not pay as much for this work. Another important aspect is importance, because we like to believe that we are important, that things can't go on without us, that we are irreplaceable. However, in reality, it's pretty much the opposite. The work we do might be important, but we as a person, we are usually replaceable. This often leads to disappointment. For example, when we retire and someone else takes over and things go on smoothly, no problems. This is often a great disappointment for people who thought themselves so irreplaceable. And there is a similar issue related to teamwork, because if you are part of a team, your individual contribution kind of gets lost in the results of the teamwork, and your individual contribution isn't clearly visible. So this contradicts this whole idea of I want to be important and everybody should see it. And finally, it can lead to severe problems if your belief in your own importance and irreplaceability leads you to make a lot of sacrifices. Working in the evenings, working at the weekends, working during your holidays. Now, usually people who do that believe that there will be some kind of reward later, that everybody acknowledges and respects their sacrifice, and that later there will be a promotion or an increase in salary and whatever. And often this never happens. And this leads to a problem called effort-reward imbalance, which is a work-related stress problem. And the final result might be burnout, or it might be utter resignation, where the person barely does more than being present at work, but has lost all will to do anything. And no one profits from this. It's a lose-lose situation for both the employer and the employee. Another typical aspect in German job advertisements is the great people you're getting to work with, the great atmosphere in the company. Now, this makes me wonder, all those unfriendly, bad-tempered, ill-mannered people, where do they earn their money? Where do they work? Yeah, of course they work everywhere. In each company you will meet the full range of human personalities. And dealing with that is one of our most basic tasks as humans. No matter what the job advertisement says, you will never have a company where everybody is great and awesome and whatever. As a kind of counterpart to all those grand illusions about our working life, we have the way we view the actual work that is actually being done. In Germany, we have the phrase Dienst nach Vorschrift, which supposedly translates literally to work to rule. However, I doubt it conveys the same meaning. In German, Dienst nach Vorschrift means that you do exactly what is expected of you. You perform exactly the task that you have been given. However, it is quite a negative phrase, because it implies that actually it would have been better to do more. Volker Kietz gives a great example here of a study in the USA where scientists interviewed cleaning staff at a hospital. And during those interviews, it turned out that some of those cleaning staff people did just what was expected of them. They cleaned. And some others of those cleaning staff people did other things in addition. They did some singing or dancing for the patients. They put up nice pictures. They talked to the patients and helped them lose their fear about the operations they had to undergo and things like that. So they did a lot of things in addition to their basic tasks. Now, of course, the basic idea here is The people who did just the cleaning, those are the unmotivated and not so great people. And the people who did the singing and dancing, those are the great ones. Those are the ones that really make a difference. But is this actually the case? This hospital could go on just fine without the singing and dancing. Of course, the mood would not be as great. And there are probably additional benefits patients get from this additional support. However, on the other hand, the hospital couldn't go on operating without the cleaning. Without the cleaning, the hospital would have to shut down within a few days. Infections would spread like crazy. It would be a severe crisis. So the cleaning is the part that is really important, not the singing and dancing. Now, interestingly, in this study, no one asked whether those people who did the singing and dancing, whether they performed as well as their colleagues when it came to the actual cleaning. No one was interested in that, even though the cleaning is actually the important part. If someone does exactly what is expected of him, if someone fulfills the task given to him, why isn't that a good thing? We look down on people who just do their 9-to-5 job, and we elevate people who, let's say, also send emails in the evening, or who do work at the weekends or during their vacation. But why is that? Either this situation occurs because those people get so much work to do that it isn't possible to finish it within a normal working day. Now, this isn't a situation that is positive or desirable in any way. Or the workload is perfectly all right, but the people are not capable enough to finish their normal work during a normal working day, and due to that they have to do stuff in the evening and at the weekends. And this isn't desirable or positive in any way either. What Volker Keats recommends is to view work as what it actually is: an exchange of time for money. For the employer, this means not to make unrealistic promises that the actual work can't live up to, and to pay their employees appropriately. This means that someone doing a full-time job has to be able to make a living from it. It means that equal work is compensated by equal pay, and it means that an employee who receives one salary does the job of one person and not the job of 3 people. For the employees, this means not to approach the employer with unrealistic expectations, not to expect the work to give meaning to their lives. And it means to perform the work that is given to them properly. For example, not to serve on Facebook or book your holidays during working hours. So, do we need to love our work? Should we better suffer through it? Now, that's not really the point here. Of course, there are people who really enjoy their work, who live for their work, who get up in the morning and they are happy that they can go to work. And this is perfectly fine. Nothing has to change there. On the other hand, there are people who are really miserable about their work and who suffer through each day and who might even get ill because of their work. And for those people, there has to be a change. They have to find a new job and maybe they need professional help. However, both of those are small minorities. the vast majority of people has a job they are somewhat content with, they aren't really passionate about it, they aren't really miserable about it, and those people should know that their work is perfectly alright as it is, and that they don't need to feel bad because they aren't passionate each day, or because there aren't great challenges each day, because this is all perfectly normal. If you strive to get a job that is really fulfilling to you, where you do what you really like and that you can be passionate about, I hope you are successful, and I would never ask you I would never ask you to stop. This is pretty much what I'm doing, and this channel is part of that. However, the important thing here is that the desire, the impulse actually comes from ourselves, comes from within. We don't do this because all the other people tell us that our work is wrong if there is no passion involved. And this is the important difference to make here. That's why I think this idea, this concept is quite important, because we need it as a kind of counterbalance to other books I reviewed earlier, such as The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or The Why Cafe, that put a lot of emphasis on doing what you really want and being passionate, or also Eat That Frog, which we had last time, that emphasized having a career and advancing socially and things like that. In soft skills, there isn't the one solution that is appropriate for everyone and that works for everyone, even though speakers and authors like to say so. There always needs to be a balance, and we need to be aware of the full range of possibilities. And that's why I wanted to tell you about this book and about Volker Keats' ideas, because if you just view your work as a necessity that you need to make a living, and you are fine with that and you are content with that, then this is perfectly all right, just as it is all right to do something you're passionate about, just as it is all right to pursue a career and try to advance and whatnot. If it is what you really want, then it is fine, no matter the ideas and images about what work should be like that you encounter. How is the situation for you? Do you like the work you are currently doing? Are you content with your current work, or are you trying to find a different job, a different position? Let me know in the comments. I'm looking forward to your feedback. Also, if you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate a like. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, this is a good way not to miss any future videos. We will see each other next week in the next channel update. Until then, I'll take my leave. Have a nice day. See you next time.